Hello there, and a very warm welcome to all of you. On behalf of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I'm absolutely delighted that you're joining us for the Dubai Chamber interview series. Thanks so much for being with us. Now, of course, we're very happy to be engaging with industry leaders from around the region and indeed from around the world to bring you, our dear viewers, up to date with trends and information and indeed great value and tremendous insights that can help your business and add value. I'm Ahmed, your moderator for this series, and I'm absolutely delighted to be with you. Just a few quick housekeeping rules in this session. We're going to definitely welcome your participation. We want you to be familiar with this platform and to take time to ask some questions from our guest. Use that icon there, ask a question. It's at the bottom of your screen. And of course, you can also use the dialog box on the right of your screen to keep in touch with your peers who are online today. So far, more than 300 people from about 45 countries. So a seriously diverse panel. We're very, very happy that you're here. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to welcome the Executive Chairman and CEO of the Dubai Multi-Commodities Center. But first, let's take a quick look at this video.
Welcome to DMCC. In the heart of Dubai, a business capital with unrivaled access to the world's highest potential economies and infinite possibilities. Our free zone is home to the leading businesses of today and of tomorrow, where over 100,000 people live, work and play in our award-winning community and our new world-class destination, Uptown Dubai. This is a place where innovation transforms ideas into opportunity and networks forge relationships that last. We are also the world's leading commodities hub, a global center for trading. Everything from tea and coffee to gold and diamonds, and so much more. Where ancient trade routes meet a hyper-connected future. To grow your business and reach the world, set up your company in the world's leading free zone and be part of the future of trade.
And that was just a quick glimpse at what's going on over at the Dubai Multi-Commodities Center. And I'm absolutely delighted and honored to welcome now the Executive Chairman and CEO of the Dmcc, Ahmed bin Sulayem. Ahmed, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
As always, it's great to talk to you, great to catch up. And indeed, since the last time I talked, so much has been happening. Now, 2020 has been a really tough year for most industry, most business around the world. But a lot has been going on in these past few months as well, particularly, I think, in the last 6 months and stuff. DMCC managed to post record-breaking numbers in terms of new companies joining the free zone here in Dubai. So we have to ask you, tell us how you managed to do this, and well done.
Well, thank you very much for that. From the offset, I mean, beginning of 2020, I was already on a business trip to San Francisco and Houston for the Future of Trade Roadshow. And in those meetings, meeting with the Silicon Valley type of folks, like John Picard and others who attended, the mentality wasn't to discuss an economy in a world that's completely locked down for a decade or two. They knew China would be back. They knew the market will come back. It's just a matter of how things are packaged. Yes, there will be a reset button pressed here and there, but people will have to adapt. So that conditioned us to be ready for that. And we're blessed with the country that responded to the COVID pandemic. Even within DMCC, we put safety as a priority. So when we needed to evacuate an office or fumigate, we did our part. And when the openings started to happen, we were more than ready. But I think what paid off the most was having the free zone services completely online. So registering, setting up, making changes, all completely online. And I have to admit, I'm of the camp that's not against it, but I worry about it. I've seen too many episodes of Black Mirror on Netflix for me to be completely comfortable with an online facility. But I asked the question to one of our members, thinklab.ae. I told him, how was DMCC during the lockdown? He said, absolutely smooth. And I thought, driving back and forth until I figured They did everything online, setting it up from scratch and all that. And I asked them, aren't you concerned about security? And the response I had was, the security measures are as good as if they came in person. So they were happy with it. And that shows you that it's a psychological thing that people have to adapt to.
And again, it is about taking care and being cautious, but again, well done. And of course, big congratulations to right now, with the much talked crypto center that was going to happen at DMCC has actually, we've got an update on this. So bring us up to date on that.
Yes, today is the official launch of the DMCC Crypto Center. I signed the agreement with Ralph of Crypto Valley last year back in Davos. I think it was end of Jan. I think it was end of January at that time. And today you have a free zone that's rolling out an ecosystem for crypto businesses, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain related businesses. Now, no matter where you stand on the matter of Bitcoins or cryptocurrencies, it's part of our reality. For me, I'm not against it or with it, but I'm kind of stuck in early 2000. I haven't still processed the crash of 2008. So it's like it's just a new reality. But at the same time, I know it will be utilized. I know there are agri-producing countries that will have to jump on it, whether it's competing with its neighbors who have cheap currency and they could get that edge over them. They would switch to the crypto. They would look for anything to have an advantage in this challenging and competitive economies.
And again, as you said too, it is about being part of it. The realism out there is that it's active, it's working, and we can't be left behind. And I think the one thing we always realize here in Dubai is we need to be part of the bigger wider global business environment, and we always are. And indeed, when we think of all of that business that you're out there actively bringing business to Dubai, putting Dubai on the map, the Dubai Chamber of Commerce, of course, this is very much their role without a doubt. And I know you occasionally work together. But let's have a look in terms of where is Dubai now? Are we a mature market to the point where really all the international business, they're coming here, they want a presence here, and they really know the value of being part of Dubai?
Well, I think the pattern is when you look at Dubai and the UAE, it's aiming to where the market will be, not where the market is. When DMCC looked at the coffee business back in 2015 and 16, having a coffee center might have been too much at the time. But by the time it's built and ready, we knew the coffee business, the coffee community in the UAE and the region would have grown. And you see today there's a brand called Emirati Coffee who expanded his roastery to Saudi Arabia. So there's a bit of familiarity to where the market could possibly be in. Things that DMCC look at is adding more finance, more services and platforms, exchanges, etc. So in dealing with these banks, we do get a peek into what the new market trends are, the sentiments even more importantly. So as an example, we've been looking at the diamond financing aspect of the business. And I anticipate in the next 10 to 30 months, you would see an active bank or a financing tool in Dubai. Now, we looked at specific partners, international global players, and some that really looked at this business, but because of changes, they look at other opportunities as well. So we get a feel of it. We're in it. So coming back to the crypto, it isn't choice whether you like crypto or not. It's part of the reality. We had a similar experience with the 5G technology. We're the first free zone to roll out the 5G technology within our free zone, and that's active. So it's only natural that we would plug and play with another product, that being the crypto center.
Now, there's so much we do need to talk about, but let's go back to the tea and coffee center. And really, the tea center here, very well established, coffee always as well. What's the next step for these two centers? And how important is this, to have these based at DMCC?
Initially, the tea center was just to contribute to the tea industry, mainly focusing on startups, medium players, and even some of the big players. It grew. Its success really opened the door for the Coffee and Cacao Center at DMCC. So for the past, I believe, 13, 14 years, Dubai has been the largest re-exporter of tea in the world. And the tea center contributes to about 20% of that. So that being said, we don't feel that we've done everything we can. I know for a fact there's a few businesses that we could add to the tea center. And I've pushed the tea center management and I've signed the letter as well, to apply for adding herbal and medicinal teas to our tea center. That requires more paperwork, but that's going to add more business. And some of the big players also looked at setting that up in the UAE, and I only found that out later that they faced some challenges. So they're actually counting on us to launch that. So that brings confidence. On the coffee center, we have a 5-kilo roaster, a 30-kilo roaster, and a 60-kilo roaster. Some of the big players have put in I would assume, have put in a few requests. And I see that the team have ordered a 300-kilo roaster. So that's for the big volume players and all that. So the coffee center is growing. We might, at a later stage, add a cold brew bottling facility that's under study. Our Turkish coffee now can be blended with cardamom to supply the local and regional market. So exciting times. And what I like about the coffee mainly is that most of the people living in the UAE and GCC can relate, can give me their views of any coffee they're enjoying that has been roasted in our coffee center. So I think it's the most fun commodity that I deal with today.
So popping over for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee at DMCC takes on a whole new meaning when you look at this as a big business and as a big global trading business. Talk to me a little bit about, where the main coffee is coming from. Latin America, as you say, Turkish coffee, you're brewing here, you're roasting, even in Saudi, there's so much going on. But who are the big coffee producers that you're dealing with?
No matter where you are in the world, you're probably consuming coffee or caffeine that has come from Brazil. Brazil produces more than, I think, 40% of the global coffee production. Second after Brazil, believe it or not, is Vietnam with 17%. But I think these two players also focus on the Robusta coffee. But by far, Brazil is the most influential. So when we were studying, putting the plans for the coffee center, we were advised not to look at the Latin American coffee. And we asked why. And we were told, well, logistically, it's a challenge. I'm glad that Sanjeev and the team did not go by that advice. And what they did was they rented the warehouse, borrowed the equipment, I guess, and had a shipment come from Brazil, and I believe another one from New York, processed, packaged, redistributed, and there was no impact on the price. Maybe the consultants were not up to date, or maybe it was a way to avoid us from, becoming what we are today. But in any case, we get coffees from Panama, Guatemala. Now we're getting coffees from Galapagos Island, Ecuador. I'm looking into Hawaii. I'm waiting on a visit to Dominican Republic, and just recently I came from Colombia, looking at cacao and coffee. Now we do receive coffees from Colombia, but this was more about getting more coffees from Colombia and getting their feedback on what we could do better for them. So it's exciting times. It's just fun today.
And talk to me more about cacao, because this is something that you're looking at as well. And again, the development and the opportunities and the possibilities here, they're endless once you get started here. We're all, I think, very excited about that too.
The capital, I think the center for coffee and cacao today is Geneva, maybe for the past 10 years or more. When it comes to cacao, we're not talking about the Cadburys, the Nestle's of the world. I'm actually I'm looking at the cacao fruit. I recognize the cacao bean as a commodity, as something we're going to look at. I have a good relationship with the Ghana government thanks to the Dubai Chamber of Commerce, they've opened a few doors in 2016. I'm in touch with the Cote d'Ivoirian as well. I understand that Cote d'Ivoire is the largest exporters of cacao beans, about 40% or so. With Ghana, these two come up to 60% of the global production. I visited cacao farms in Ecuador, and the idea is to encourage more businesses like Oded Brenner's company, which is called the Blue Stripe Urban Cacao, based in New York. What he sells are products, chocolate bars, food, cacao water, everything that comes 100% from the fruit, with practically no preservatives, no refined sugar, none of the bad stuff. So you get all the antioxidants, all the benefits. And I think it's time. And that's what excited me about this cacao center.
So I know a lot of work going on there, and you'll be right at the helm and making sure that you get everything in place. Now, of course, apart from having a cup of tea, coffee, whatever it is we can do at DMCC, and look what's going on there. It's a high-tech place to go. We look at technology and digitalization. They're really driving business, here in the Gulf. Talk to me about your digital strategy.
At points we're driven by our members, and sometimes we push things to our members to help them in their business. And I think it's not a yin and yang anymore. I think we go with one flow today. The information just goes around, and if there's a new update, if there's something else that we can do, we'll provide it. So a good example is, I'll give you two examples. I think about 10 years ago, we welcomed the founders of Astrolabs, a Google Tech Hub. And, it's not a situation of them coming, they want a license, and they just go on with their business. I'm always in touch with Luis and Mohammed Mekki. And, it's always ideas. Their business plan is really connecting with other Google Tech Hubs, discussing not challenges, opportunities. That's how they look at it. And there will always be opportunities. Coming back to I was going to mention another point that escapes me. It'll come back to me. There's Astrolabs, the Gold and Commodities Exchange. We started off from the technology part in an online platform rather than the open outcry, when that was not 100% around the world. The UK is the last country that still has an open outcry. I hear the London Metals Exchange are going to finally be 100% online. I think the world has to thank the COVID pandemic for that today. But it's the way it is. DMCC has been the best free zone globally 6 times in a row. I'm anticipating we get it the 7th time. But to do that, we have to be ahead of our market. We have to be ahead of our competition.
Now, you mentioned earlier the diamond market too, and of course, another record broken too at the Dubai Diamond Exchange when the largest diamond tender was had. Talk to me a lot about the diamond tenders that are happening, and indeed how all of this is actually helping to advance the global diamond industry.
It's a reflection, I think, of Dubai's position as an international city and the growth DMCC has achieved, but also the familiarity of our members and their counterparties. They always knew about Dubai, but they had a lot of options. And for some, it took a few years for them to utilize and try our tender. For example, Fiora Gems, I visited their emerald mines back in 2018 in Colombia. And a few years later, Dev Shetty, the founder of Fiora Gems, is at the Dubai Diamond Exchange, going with his emerald business, happy with the results, and still doing his business in Colombia and other parts of the world. But we've hosted Bonus as well, has utilized the Diamond Exchange for emeralds, Colombian, and another one for Brazil as well. Dubai is becoming the choice of convenience as much as competitiveness as well. But I think as of now, when compared to the key centers of the world, our tea processing, our coffee roasting and storage services are Dubai Diamond Exchange services, all compete on value and cost globally.
Now, of course, I've been at some of the big conferences that you've held that the DMCC has hosted in terms of, diamonds and gems, and we're missing all this a bit because I think everybody's missing the connectivity when you're keeping in touch with everybody online. Again, I mean, the interest in coming to Dubai and bringing all of those people. I'm sure you're probably working on something in the year ahead to make sure that everybody does stay connected and that we're going to hear more about the diamond business, about the precious gems business and all of that. It's absolutely essential. And looking at Dubai too is such a great hub that it can be for this.
Well, we've had a great momentum. I would say a little bit right after the first Eid of last year when we had our display of the UAE gold bullion coins, and that's really a week or two before the city really opened up. But that signals to the market and the globe where DMCC's mindset is, where our members' mindset is. People are hungry. There was that assumption that people will spend less on jewelry, will cut back on spending on travels, etc. But we've seen the opposite. People just saw how short life is, and people just want to live, want to make statements, want to make that phone call, that commitment, etc. So looking at the jewelry industry, the feedback is different, and there are challenges around the world. With challenges, there are opportunities. So much that Dubai is going to be hosting the jewelry exhibition in February next year. DMCC is sponsoring that. It's Informa with the Italian jewelry exhibitors. The show will be focusing on color stones, diamond jewelry, and the tech industry. That's part of the industry today. So Dubai is going to be going on a good roll this year and the next year.
And of course, Dubai has always been very much at the forefront too in terms of governance in this business. Connecting all the key players and indeed making sure that this is a good business. This is a transparent business, and it's a business that has life and longevity. Because if it's not transparent, we're going to encounter problems here. So, over the past few years, I know Dubai has been very instrumental on that, and you yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've joined the Dubai Blockchain Council, I think, in 2015, and we've had businesses applying for crypto and blockchain type of businesses, but as soon as we see that there's an element of them handling anyone else's money, we block that type of business. It's not saying it's bad or good. It's just that there was no regulatory framework with ESCA. The policies were not clear with the central bank. As soon as these two were cleared up, and us signing an MOU or an agreement with the regulatory, we were open for business. And today is testimony to that. Some of the biggest players are in attendance. And I'd like everyone to know is that this is not the end of it. This is not even the beginning. We're about to see a lot of changes, and not necessarily just on cryptocurrencies, but services, new opportunities. When Uber was launched, the disruption wasn't just the main story. You more services, more security, more technology, and you're going to see that with the crypto center. I'm already seeing some of my colleagues from the coffee center visiting the crypto center. So God help us with what these two are going to come up with.
Yes, indeed, it'll be some dynamic coffee, at least some great discussions around that, without a doubt. And also, staying, I suppose, with the diamonds a little bit. One relationship that was absolutely essential when it comes to diamonds, and we look at what's been happening in Dubai again over the last year and so too, has been without a doubt the Abraham Accords. A lot of business in terms when we look at the diamond trade, looking at Israel and looking at Israeli companies. Still tremendous business interest there. This is something, for the wider region. Talk to us in terms of the opportunities for trade there that are possible in the future.
Well, recently, we've announced on the Gold and Commodities Exchange that the Israeli Securities Authority has approved or allowed its members to trade on the Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchange. So we're connecting the gold and commodities exchange with their market. The reason for that is looking at the CME, their largest market is obviously the US, but right after that comes Israel. And, Les Mal, our CEO, could not ignore that opportunity. For the diamond exchange, it's obvious. We've been a member of the World Federation of Diamond Bourses for about, I would say, 18 years or 17 years now. And we've attended international events. We've met with them. We've hosted some of the Israel Diamond Exchange members for the President's meeting, the Congress meeting. This was a natural step for us. So as soon as the Abrahamic Accord was signed, we announced DMCC's opening of its office in the Israel Diamond Exchange. And they've done the same a few months later, which got blessed by a rabbi, by the way, a few weeks afterwards. So these are the opportunities that we're working on today. But I think from the tech side and the crypto side, we'll see a lot, probably security as well. On commodities, I don't want to say I jumped the gun, but I have connected with Landver Coffee. I've connected with Rami Levy. I've met one of the Strauss family from Strauss Group, who are big also on coffee. They're involved a lot in, I think a lot of their production comes from Brazil as well. So what I'm looking forward more from Israel is to learn and build on this new door.
And again, of course, it's about building those relationships, and it's about making sure that everybody knows. And you've spent some time there, and I know you were on one of the earlier flights that went there to meet people in the industry. It's still important, and it will be even more important going forward to make sure that those connections are there, that they're strong, and that business builds a wider understanding, I think, of what is capable and what's possible in the region.
Yes, I think it's one of these situations where both cities are attractive. I want to go there on holidays. I want to go there for work and etc. And I'm seeing the same from them, whether it's an opera event, a food event or whatnot. There's a lot. And even before the Abrahamic Accord, whenever there was a sports event or a dentistry conference, I mean, they're the biggest leaders in that. Upcoming World Cups, if they qualify, they're going to show up. But this makes things much smoother, and it's only 3 hours flight, if not less. So it just changes everything.
It does, and the connectivity, I think, and the opportunities that are there, without a doubt, are huge. They're endless. Just a quick reminder to all of our viewers out there, it's not that often we do get hold of the executive chairman and the CEO of DMCC. So please take this opportunity to put a few questions to him. He's kindly agreed that he will actually be very happy to answer a few. So it's great that I have this conversation with him, but I'd love to involve you as well. So please do send us a few questions. Ahmed, let's continue and just talk a little bit more about DMCC. And particularly, I think also DMCC has attracted, quite a wide variety of companies, a lot of different people here. But talk to me about SMEs as well as the larger multinationals. You have both. What's the future for small and medium business within the DMCC?
I do see us connecting a lot with Eastern Europe, more on China. We've signed an agreement with Innova that connects us. I hope I don't get the number wrong. This is China. Over 3,000 companies. Exactly. It's an incubator that represents businesses from Beijing and Haidan. I don't know if I pronounced it right, but I think there will be a lot of growth coming from the ASEAN market and the Latin American market. And funnily, we connect with some of the multinationals through Spain. On my business trips with Dubai Chamber to Brazil, Argentina, and Panama, I do ask sometimes the businesses over there, when they want to go international, not regional, not just selling everything to the US or wherever else, when they want to go to the real global market or go to international events, where do they focus on mostly? And a lot of them have said either Madrid, mostly Madrid and Barcelona. So DMCC has been focusing on these two areas, and I can't predict how much we're gonna attract from there, but it's untapped. It's untapped. Uh, we're not. I don't usually do a lot of hard sales. A lot of times it's just informing them. So if you go on our website, you'll see multiple languages. The website in Hebrew and French, Spanish, corporate videos also in Mandarin and Spanish as well. I think I have two Spanish. One is the common Spanish, the global Spanish, and the other one is Spanish, depending who I'm talking to. And in Bogota, I was lucky. The voiceover was Colombian Spanish, so they felt I did it for them, but that was just a coincidence.
Now, of course, and that outreach is so important. The Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, very much focused on a great outreach to bring business into Dubai. The same for yourself here. And I think we've seen tremendous developments over the last few years, the speed, I think, of which businesses are looking at this location. And I think if you look maybe in the last 5 years, so much really has been happening. How do you keep that momentum up?
Sometimes I feel like I'm catching up. Sometimes if I'm not catching up, that means I'm going in a different direction. So it depends. I think today it's not. I think in some ways DMCC is ahead, but you're going to see an aggressive push as we go into the Dubai Expo. So I'm really excited to see what I'll learn from these visits to the pavilions and see what will be displayed from the US pavilion to the Israeli pavilion, Italian pavilion, the Chinese one. So I don't know. It's exciting times. I never thought that DMCC would take on the crypto world and partner with the Swiss like Ralph, but that has happened. So it's I can't predict right now, but what I can tell you is that we will build on what we've achieved as a foundation for new targets.
Let's talk a little bit about Expo, because everybody is very, very busy here. They had the sustainability pavilion open for everybody to go and visit. And, it's where we keep hearing now that it's closed again, but we keep hearing great reports of how it's looking out there. And so much is happening. A lot of the key players came to town a couple of months ago. How are you positioned for Expo? And what do you think it means really for Dubai and for the UAE? Because I think it's putting Expo back on the map in many ways too. It's going to be an exciting few months.
Well, let's think back to when Dubai won the bid to host the Expo. That was 2013. That was, barely over 4 years from the global recession. To me, that meant a lot personally. We as DMCC, I think me and my manager, we visited the Expo once or twice before, and we've seen the progress 2 years ago. It's different happening in Dubai. It's the place. It's the city with the most cranes at one stage, all of these record-breaking towers, record-breaking projects. So the pressure is a lot on the participants of the Expo 2020 to be exposed, to be relevant, etc. Each one having their own focus. I think the Swedish pavilion is focusing on sustainability, so you see a lot of bamboo sticks and all that, and their plans. It's as the slogan says, connecting minds. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I mentioned before we started that the conference I attended a couple of years ago in Panama, some of the meetings I'm having here in the US is a follow-up to those meetings in Panama. So the world is becoming more and more global. It's more and more interconnected. I think what we need to look at is see the new trends and new patterns coming up. We've seen Reddit being involved in markets like GameStop and Dogecoin. So, the way we get information, the way we want to find out things and all that will disrupt some markets, but will open doors in some areas. So we need to be fast and nimble. And I think that's why DMCC today, is running a tea center, a coffee center, and soon we'll have an operational cacao center. And despite that, I'm in touch with a few warehousing businesses, few food families where I'm connecting them with the producers and seeing ways of where the city of Dubai just redistribute the cacao beans, plays its part, and save time.
And I think you're so right there, that idea and that concept of that business, DMCC, yes, but it would, I think, it has to be something that all business needs to look at. That flexibility, being agile, being nimble. And, I know when you talk about something and something's exciting, it actually happens, and it happens quick. And, I know you're a great believer in not wasting time and getting these great ideas into play because they do work. How important is that when you look at a wider scale and how all businesses can actually learn from this, and the fact that they really need to, pivot and to adopt new ways of working?
Well, you're going to see a lot of changes in the banking industry. When it comes, I don't like to refer to the crypto opportunity just cryptocurrency. I think it just really narrows what it can do. But in any case, a lot of the sales pitches are, half the world doesn't have a bank account, but all of them at one point or the other will have a mobile phone, as if to say that's the entry to the crypto world. But that is an untapped market. There's a reason why Mark Zuckerberg a few years ago was looking to finance a solar-powered plane that will keep flying around, giving the region internet. I don't know whether he's pushing for crypto or not, but they don't make these moves out of the blue. Elon Musk's romance with satellites has to do with providing internet, and God knows if he's doing another battery thing over there. But there will be a lot of leaps and jumps that will happen in a span of a year or two. So it's a matter of conditioning to these opportunities and realizing that this reality is going to sit here for a while.
Absolutely, and responding to it rather than being left behind. We have some questions coming in, so let me put a few of them to you. I have John Benny from the Gulf News, and he says, with respect to diamond financing, you said you see a bank or financing tool coming up in the next 10 to 30 months. If you could maybe elaborate on what that diamond financing tool might look like, or what's the next step?
I wish I could. It's too early, but it's the missing puzzle in Dubai. It's if you're looking for finances, it'll be very hard to get finances. Unfortunately, the perception is kind of negative, but when you look at the numbers, when you look at individuals that know what they're doing, the percentage of default is insignificant compared to the other businesses in the market. So it's not for fun, it's not for profit that we're pushing to support, and if need be, even invest ourselves in a bank. But it is really to make sure that the diamond industry and diamond traders do not have any excuse to look outside Dubai or the DMCC. So it's going to happen one way or the other, and it's not something new to the banks in the UAE. They've met with me before the global recession, talking about commodity financing, diamond financing at some point, and even afterwards. But I think today, as much as it's market opportunity, as much as it's about the business, I think it's due to the knowledge that people can reach out to. Bain consultants have done a few studies on the diamond industry and the finance, and that's within reach today. It's not as mysterious as it used to be before. So I expect to see this. If not, maybe somebody from the crypto world will provide finance, but it's going to happen.
It is, and that's what particularly, small, medium business too, that everybody needs. Mm-hmm. So it will happen, as you say. I have another question here from Lakshay Kaira, and who actually asks, what is Dmcc doing as far as global conservation? And there's a two-tier to this question, so I don't know if you put them both together or maybe we look at them separately. And that follows up on what are the programs that Dmcc has created to connect with business in Latin America? You've talked to us a little bit about what you're doing in the coffee and that. So global conservation and what's going on in Latin America.
Well, before I started visiting Latin America and the visits with the Dubai Chamber, I always knew there was a direct relation between DMCC or the Dubai market and Peru. Peru, from maybe early days of DMCC or maybe even before I joined DMCC and it was set up, Peru would export and the market would be connected with Dubai being a gold center. But after a few roadshows and all that, first we needed to listen to see what the demands are and how we can assist. Sometimes we want to assist, but the challenges is on the other side. So it depends on the opportunity. In my discussions on cacao in general, I do talk about what's happening in Cote d'Ivoire, and there are two challenges: having the farmer paid adequately, making sure the farmer is within the accepted age limit. But what's interesting is that they produce so much cacao beans that they've gone outside their farms. They're cutting down trees, and it's impacting the environment over there. So I do see the big players actually being careful, and DMCC itself, as a cacao center, will be mindful not to be contributing to any damages around for the environment. But when looking at the Latin American producers, they're very aware of these pitfalls. So there are certificates that they, obviously by third parties and all that, that would certify that this is eco-friendly, there's no child labor, et cetera, et cetera. So it's engaging with them, and they're getting to know Dubai. And I will be visiting all of their pavilions come Expo 2020. Well, 2021.
And of course, that also builds in the concept of, sustainability and doing good business, yes, and building governance. And this, I think, is something that you would probably argue that, all businesses need, and particularly any business that you're going to connect with around the world, that we all need to do our part to make sure that, we build business for the future, really.
Well, DMCC is also the first free zone to join the UN-backed Global Compact initiative, and we have a department for that. Evgeny Granin works with us on that. I have him engaged on the Cacao Center, but he's across the board. So as far as the free zone is concerned, we do our best to make sure our members are up to international standards, and if they're not, we work with them to get them there.
Now, talk to me a bit more too about the concept of a free zone and DMCC particularly, and looking to attract new business to come to Dubai. Why should they come to DMCC, and the advantages of a free zone? What can you do to actually help them establish here and then expand their business in Dubai, in the UAE, and indeed perhaps the wider region?
For starters, it depends which market. Some markets I will need to visit personally. You could only do so much with Zoom calls and all that. People would want to read not just what you're saying, your body language after you say something. They want to see your personality, etc. And we live in a world where people make decisions based on what their gut feeling tells them. So it depends. I think it's the opportunity that attracts them, and we're in a very good position where we represent over 100,000 people living and working in our free zone. We're still licensing, registering. We have businesses coming in, but at the same time, this time next year, our Uptown Tower and the expansion of DMCC's Uptown District will be fully operational. 78-story building, multi-use. So it's what we're seeing our plan through, and knock on wood, and all of the rituals, for some reason, it's been going well. I think making sure that awareness is where our focus market is at. So just keep engaging.
And indeed, every time I go over to, the area, DMCC, over to JLT, it's a thriving environment. It's part of it, a wonderful looking building site. You can see it actually coming to fruition. It's there's a great buzz over there. Now, you talk about Uptown coming on board. What do you look to in the future in terms of, you've developed this area, you've really been, keeping an eye on what's going on. You're very personally connected with everything that goes on there, be it if it's a lake, if it's a park, if it's a cycling area. You live and breathe this region, and obviously you take great feedback from all of the businesses that are there. What's the future for DMCC? And tell me more about the development of that area and what other people can expect when they come.
Well, recently we've welcomed we've welcomed Aviva, a medical center focusing on treatment using hyperbaric chambers. That's fully operational. There's one or two, I believe, universities in DMCC. I think you'll see more specialty coffees being offered in JLT, and it's come to its own. I think most businesses, at least the retail and F&B, are startups, mom and pop shops. You have pet stores. You have I don't know what to call it, pet daycare center or something. So the community is happy to be living and working in an area that's, I don't want to say it's the only free zone that's pet friendly, but it is one of the few communities in Dubai that's really pet friendly. And I take pride in that. But I think what I'm looking forward to in the future is having more face-to-face events. I miss showing big crowds around, and that's the reality I'm looking forward to.
And indeed, I think that concept too of building a community, and just a quick shout to our viewers out there. We still have a few minutes left, so if you want to get a few questions in, please, by all means, we'll do our best to actually get Ahmed to address them. But again, that concept of building a community, and I think when we looked back several years ago, where people can live and work together, and really, see that was a change that, was talked about. But I think if anywhere in DMCC, it's the reality of how people live and work, and it's built a thriving community too, I think. How important do you think that's been?
Very important. I mean, I really felt the influence of our community when we opened the veggie boutique, and then the vegetarian or vegan supermarket, and I'm like, that's the diamond industry. That's the Indian Jain community of DMCC. It's always going to be there. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but it's just, there's always something happening there. If it's an art exhibition, a sports event, I think everything around that place is kind of complementing. It's funny that over 20 years ago, when I heard about this project and I realized where it's really set, I felt it was too far away from everywhere. And now it just sits perfectly, connecting with the Abu Dhabi market. It's a 25 minute drive to the events at the expo. It's only, I would say, 8 minutes or 7 minutes drive to Dubai Eye and Dubai Blue Island, I think. So it's a different part of the world, and there's always something happening, whether it's a diamond tender, a diamond show, knowing that we've achieved a thriving community, I anticipate that business, that kind of market, will attract more businesses as well who are decided on moving. It's just a matter of when and how. Yes, the Abrahamic Accord really changed things, but it also confirms Dubai's status as an international city, no different than New York or London or Tokyo.
And indeed, also, you've got that global recognition, I think, too, which is so important. The Financial Times FDI magazine for the 6th consecutive year, putting DMCC up there in terms of, the best global free trade or free zone. This international recognition, obviously, too, is a great benefit to DMCC, I'm sure. You should be very proud of it. You are, I'm sure.
Well, for getting the first one was, one second. I am sorry.
We can still
Yeah,
hear you.
we're good. No, we're good. Getting the first one was was a big deal for me. The second one, and I thought we weren't going to get the third one. Now that we're at the sixth, I don't believe it's going to be an easy sell to tell the world DMCC is not winning its seventh one. Something's got to give, given what's been achieved so far and what's coming up in the pipeline. But it's the conveniency, as I mentioned before, that's very attractive. I'll give you a nice example. About 7 years ago, I met with Mike Beer, who was representing the IFC court, and he wanted to expand that service outside the IFC, and we signed an agreement with them. Today, new companies looking to set up with DMCC have a choice of resolving potential disputes inland or through the common law in the IFC, through the IFC courts. And I think that that type of conveniency and the expectation from DMCC to provide its best and provide, not looking beyond just the numbers and all that. So that's attractive. I think that's knowing that there won't be any missed opportunities is what attracts a lot of the businesses and creates the momentum to me.
And I'm sure Mark Beer is on the call, keeping an eye on what you're doing. Again, some great work, even though he's left the region, he's keeping an eye all the time on what's going on here. I have another quick question here. What regulations do you feel makes the MCC unique, perhaps in comparison, if it is in comparison to other free zones?
We always review these things. We didn't jump into the crypto center when we could have 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We don't want to rush into it. We want to make sure that the international codes, the international standards are in place, depending on the activity and all that. It's always being reviewed by us. And it's not only to the convenience of incoming businesses, but it's also to protect the market and ensure that everyone's covered. So there's nothing that comes to mind. I mean, I just gave the Mike Beer example, but coming back to the crypto, it's always connected with either international standards, making sure that it's not conflicting with the central bank or the federal government itself. That's why we work closely with the Ministry of Economy, trying to deal with challenges that comes from the gold industry and etc. But for the most part, I noticed that a lot of it needs education of what's really happening here, how things are being dealt with, rather than just going with what the headlines say outside from the outside world.
Now, another question I have here from Irina Akimova, ATS in Russia. How do you think the latest developments in the UAE policy towards foreign ownership of companies, how will that affect the Dubai economy, the UAE economy, and investments in the region? Do you think we're going to see more changes there and probably more investment, hopefully?
I can't comment on the decision-making process, but I would assume that these decisions are not just taken just per calendar. It's to help the economy. It's to strengthen Dubai's attractiveness, whether it's to live, work, or both, or retire even. But I can't really speculate, really. I mean, as much as being in the business of diamonds and, working with Israeli diamond members, and I could never predict that the Abrahamic Accord would be signed last year. Could have been signed 4 years ago, could have been signed in the next 4 years. But as surprising as these decisions might have been to some, my advice is to not get surprised anymore. Dubai and the UAE is looking to compete, and they're not going to leave a lot of advantages to other competing centers in the world.
Absolutely. A question that's come in here, and we're wrapping this up shortly. What's the role that DMCC can play in terms of the tourism sector? And how are you serving the domestic tourism market?
We've looked at a few things to add footfall. I mean, for those who are not familiar with DMCC, the Jumeirah Lakes Towers community that DMCC overlooks as the master developer and worked to ensure that that project is actually delivered and handed over. we sorry, I lost my trail of thought here. What was the question again?
Just on tourism in terms of
so we looked at putting together a museum. We looked at the Pearl Collection and National Bank of Dubai, EMBD now. It's difficult for me. I've had people ask, why don't you have school students come and visit live tenders, etc. I did mention that there are universities, etc. It depends. I don't want the extra traffic, but it's happening. We're having visits, and I've had businesses looking at either selling an artifact, a jewelry or something, or displaying it. Just recently, we had a visit from Sotheby's, who for some reason set up their office in the IFC simply to be close to Christie's, because competitors likes to be close to each other. But they loved what they saw, and I think they'll be showing up a lot, and you'll see more footfall. So I wouldn't be surprised if either Christie's, Sotheby's, or even Phillips has a tender or an auction in DMCC.
So just watch this space. And just finally, before I let you go, looking to the future, are you optimistic we'll all come through the pandemic and the possibilities that are out there? When we look at Dubai in the years to come, would you say this is certainly the place to be?
Well, in the risk of upsetting the universe, it should be. But I'll just quote His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid on that. When he was I think he was responding to some pessimism about the global recession back in 2008. He's like, look, the good times don't last. So does the bad times. They don't last forever. So yes, there's an expectation, but doesn't mean that we keep our eyes closed. We keep our eyes open and look for them.
And indeed, that's what it is. Keep our eyes focused and look for the great opportunities that are there. And I think definitely all the great work you've been doing at DMCC is very much testament to that. So it's been a real honor for me to have this time to chat with you, and I hope our viewers have enjoyed it. So a huge thanks to the Executive Chairman and the CEO of DMCC, Ahmed bin Sulayem. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And just a quick word to all of our viewers out there as we bid you farewell with this episode of the interview series from the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Always an honor to have you with us. We'd love to have your feedback. We always enjoy that from you. What's on your mind? Who would you like us to talk to? Put down some comments, of course, and let us know what you're thinking. Anybody who might have taken notes during the webinar, make sure you copy them now, because we have to exit and close this out. But once again, huge thanks to all of you. And again, a big special thanks to our dear guest for joining us and sharing his insight and indeed his great inspiration. So once again, the Executive Chairman and CEO of Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, Ahmed bin Sulayem, thank you so much. Stay with the Dubai interview series on DMCC, and we'll have more for you in the coming months. Thank you so much for being with us.